Are we rolling? Looks like things are on. Ready to go. It's What the Pat Podcast. Let's rip the lid off of this and get going. I got a heck of a show ahead for you. Be sure you stick around to the end. Here we go. Time I get episode 1 in the can. That's what we're doing here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving me a chance to enter your ears, if you will. I think essentially that's what I'm doing. Then it's, noise for your brain, but hopefully it's not noise. Hopefully you find this entertaining, enjoyable, kind of take you out into a world. I don't even know if I want to say that. Just take you to a place where you're like, hey, I can relate, Pat. Or, nah, not for me. But, again, thanks for joining me. It's the first episode, so find some things to talk about. But I have a list of things to talk about, so really there's no sense of finding things to talk about. I will say that today, for this episode, I'm drinking Death Wish. Fresh brewed. French pressed it. Coarse grind. And that's my beverage of choice right now. That's good, too. And for me right now, it's 4:30 in the afternoon, so it's that extra kick I needed. But we'll get into the show and start talking about stuff. Also, you can leave comments, feedback, whatnot. Always appreciated. Like to hear from you. Like to hear from fans if I have some. Because in the beginning, nobody knows I'm out here. Word of mouth spreads it, so that's how we do it. I'll be sharing some stuff I like too. Spread that around and share stuff you like. How it works. A little bit about me. I got some background in radio. I've been a DJ a couple times for a couple radio stations. Did one in Augusta, Georgia. I was the country DJ. Did some rock and roll. Then moved back to my home state of Washington. Worked at a college there at the station. Just DJing. Didn't do any other work. Like weekend gig, and now I live in New York and worked at the station here for a bit doing a Saturday show, and now why not do my own podcast, talk about things that I like to talk about, and hopefully you find them interesting and stuff like that too, like bands I find, where I find them, and then I'm kind of curious what you listen to, what you like, and what gets you going, and where you find your music and all that other stuff. I'd like to kick it off with a little funny thing that happened to me the other day. Actually, it was a couple weeks ago. I was shooting photos for our zoo, and they had a group of kids there. But anyway, the funny thing is, because kids, they're pretty funny. They don't have a filter at a certain age. And this one kid walks up to me, starts asking questions about the camera and everything, and I thought that was cool. And then he's like, you sound like you're on helium. That's a first for me. I haven't had anyone say that. So, for the record, I'm not on helium. But I did find it funny, kids. The things they say at times, you're just like, ha. Something I tried last year and just recently canceled, Moviepass. I'm sure you've heard about it. It's been in the news quite a bit, off and on, because it's a roller coaster. It's a mess. I'm confused how they're still around. I knew they wouldn't last because here's the idea behind it. They've been around for quite a while before they dropped to this $10 a month plan. And that's when I jumped on board. I'm like, $10 a month, I can watch a movie a day? An entire month? Which, my theater where I live, you get maybe 8 movies. So, shuffling it around, I couldn't see 30 movies in a month unless I watched some of them twice. We'll get to that in a moment. So, I signed up for it. It took a month to get the card. I jumped right in and watched my first movie. It was easy. You checked into the app when you got to the theater. You pulled out the debit card they sent you. You swiped it. You got your ticket. You went in. You even got your Regal points, which was great. So you could earn up, for popcorn, Coke, stuff like that, so you're not getting concessions. Because the idea was, hey, I saved on a movie ticket. Why don't I go get some concessions? But we know that shit's expensive, which if you're going once a month, I could see it. All the time with Moviepass, no, you would probably go broke, and Moviepass would, again, still not make money from that. But anyway, I did this for quite a while. I got quite a few people hooked into it too, because even people who weren't watching a lot of movies, if you saw at least 2 movies a month for the $10, you were raking it in, which is, I'm pretty sure that's what they were hoping, that people wouldn't go as much as some people did. I mean, you read the stories about what some people were doing and going and seeing, it's crazy. I saw movies I wouldn't normally pay to see. And I saw, I'm trying to think. I saw about 47 movies on this. And I canceled, I believe, in August of this year. So I think I had it for a year and saw 47 movies. I got to see a couple movies twice. The Last Jedi I saw twice. I think that was the only movie I watched twice. Just because, for me, Star Wars, you got to watch, if you're really into it, watch it for the wow factor, then watch it and take more in. But that's just how I do it. We won't get into TLJ. That's another discussion. But 47 movies in a year, I more than earned it. And I quit because I couldn't continue to watch movies I wanted to watch. They started buckling down on times you could see it, what movie you could see, and it just got too difficult. And plus, that wasn't working with how they do things on there, which got pretty frustrating. So I finally tossed in the towel and gave it up. The last movie I saw on it, I believe, was Mission Impossible, the last one, which I believe is 6, which, if you haven't seen that and you like action, well worth it. Now I jumped ship, went over to, I believe it's Sinemia. They do $10 a month, 3 movies, and then you do have to pay a service fee on, like, if you use Atom or Fandango. But it breaks down to, if you do 3 movies a month with the service fees, like $20 a month. Still, you see 3 movies for $20. Where I live, that's a great deal because the lowest ticket price is $11. So you'd be looking at $33. Anyway, great deal. I'm hooked on movies anyway, and it's pretty cool to see some movies I'd watch at home at the theater because seeing them on the big screen. Hurricane Heist. That I was so excited to see that because I had Moviepass, and I'm like, I'm going to go see this B-flick, what looks horrible, and have fun. And you know what? Turned out to be fun. Movie wasn't that great, but it was fun. And sometimes that's what your theater experience should be. Fun. Not dull. I was the only person at Super Troopers 2, which was pretty cool. I believe in my... I'm 40-something, so I've gone to the movies a lot, and I've never been the only person, and that was the first movie. I believe the least amount of people I've been in theater with was one other person that I didn't know, which I always wanted to see a movie in the theater by myself, which is kind of cool and weird, but it was fun. So anyway, movie services, subscriptions, there's a few out there. Sinemia can be a little bit difficult to use, checking in and using the digital credit card they give you and all that, which I believe they're working on coming out with a debit card, kind of like Moviepass. But I think Moviepass kind of put a block on them because of patents and all that. Do I recommend Sinemia? If you like to go see movies, it's worth it. Also, side note, if you're using the Atom app, 4th movie, they'll give you a free movie. So you see 3 movies with their app, you get another movie. So some months you can see more than 3 movies, plus you'll get a free one tossed in, which I thought was pretty cool. Because at first I'm like, man, I have to pay a service fee, which it's already a good deal. And I was like, well, I can handle that. Who can't handle that? Lately, I've been watching Bloodline. It's on Netflix. I'm about to finish season 3. Season 1 started pretty solid. Sometimes it's hard to follow stories when they're jumping back and forth, but then you want to know what's going on. Season 2, you get to see the decline of things, and season 3 is wrapping up that decline. I know, I didn't give you much in there. There's some spoilers I listed at the top of the show, but I don't want to give anything away, and it's pretty much a pretty cool show. The acting's pretty good. Netflix did good with this one. I enjoy it. I do believe it's only going for 3 seasons, but that's what I'm watching right now. Of course, I'm watching The Walking Dead. It had been hard the last few seasons because I really enjoy the show, but it gets hard when you feel like they've lost scope of things and are going in directions that you don't get or don't feel right and stuff. But after the last episode, which, if you don't know by now, Rick isn't on the show anymore. So that's where we're at right now. And I feel redemption. I feel the show is starting to make a turnaround. I'm also watching Fear the Walking Dead, which the last season started solid and then seemed to fall apart. So I'm not sure on that. I'm still on the fence. So I'm going to continue watching them because I'm still invested into it. I got seasons invested here, so sometimes you want to know. Very seldom do I drop a show. Sometimes I'm like, can you just end so we can close all this and start something new? But I think The Walking Dead is going to make a turnaround. That's where I feel on this. Rick leaving, man, it's hard because I really feel they didn't give his character some good service the last few seasons. I like seeing Rick strong and how they broke him down and it just didn't feel right. But his exit, I predicted it. I figured you can't kill him. He's one you can't kill because, one, if he ever decides to come back, you have to figure that out. And two, it just wouldn't have felt right with how everything else went. So I haven't read the comics, so I'm not too up on stories as far as how that goes and everything, other than I know Carl lives, Judith dies, and that whole storyline with that and everything. But sometimes you have to go a different path just because people read stuff and they'll be like, oh, I know what's going to happen, but now you don't know what's going to happen because it's a TV show. And other times you can predict it. So those are the two shows I've been watching a lot. I haven't started the new season of Ray Donovan. Usually I like to have those saved up and then kind of watch them back to back because sometimes you get cliffhangers, sometimes not. But yeah, Ray Donovan's on my radar. What are you watching? What are some shows that you're looking forward to? Game of Thrones is coming out next year, I do believe, so that's going to wrap up. I did read that the final battle is going to be the largest on screen to be filmed. Don't quote me on that, but apparently it's going to be one hell of a battle. So I look forward to that, and I believe they have some other stories that are going to happen. So Game of Thrones may not be, well, that will probably be taken away, and then we'll get some other stories with that too. So looking forward to that. And right now, off the top of my head, I can't think of any other shows that really have my interest. What keeps your interest? Hit me up in the comments. Let's talk music. I can kick it off with one of the first albums I ever purchased. I had this little AM radio at night I'd listen to because that was all I had, and I had my tape deck, but sometimes when you want new music, you listen to the radio. That was just how it worked. So I'm laying there in bed, and then all of a sudden this crazy guitar riff comes on, and it's got me going. And then you had to wait till the end of the song to find out who it was, but I pretty much knew who it was by the sound of the vocals, because you can't, when you hear Bon Scott, 10-1, you know it's Bon Scott if you're into AC/DC. And I had heard a few songs by AC/DC then, but I was like, man, no one had ever played this song. It was Beating Around the Bush, for the record, off the Highway to Hell album. You know, I've heard all the other songs and stuff and all the hits up to that time. So the next morning, I scraped together enough money, grabbed my bike like you did, cruised to Safeway, and picked up the album. And that song pretty much transferred my flow into getting everything and anything AC/DC had. And you can ask anyone in middle school, high school, when you saw me with my Walkman and asked them, it was AC/DC I had in. It could have been For Those About to Rock, Flick of the Switch, Fly on the Wall. When Who Made Who came out, I was dying. I'm like, a whole soundtrack for a movie? This is incredible. So that was kind of my catalyst. Def Leppard played a big part. Quiet Riot. The list goes on, but you know, it pretty much gets back to listening to the radio to find music back in the day. Now you've got social media, you've got all these streaming services. It seems like there's a ton of concerts always going on. I listen and use music by Google Music, Google Music, and that's how I find the music nowadays that I listen to. They pretty much have got it down to a point where the algorithm picks up what I like, and then they just go from there, which is pretty cool. I've found a ton of groups that way. not to go too far off course. So I didn't find this group I'm going to talk about on Google Music. I found them on YouTube because you just sit there at times and scroll through YouTube, and I'm like, super bad. That looks like a cool video. Roxanne, I've never heard of them. I hit play. I am sucked in for however long that song is. I could look it up and tell you, but does it matter? Anyway, Roxanne, super bad, name of the tune. I had to know more about these guys because I'd never heard of them. How come? They're great. One, they just released the song, so the album's not out. Well, that sucks. This is their sophomore album. They released their first album 30 years ago titled Roxanne. That's crazy. Which 1988, I believe, was when grunge was really starting to kick it into drive and take out rock acts. So maybe it was just timing, or maybe they felt like doing one album and call it good and stuff. I'm pretty excited they got back together. This album is a solid 11 tracks. It also has on a couple tracks, which Superbad has, George Lynch. It's like, hey, George, just stop by and play some guitar for you guys. And he's also on the track Go Fuck Yourself. Doug Pinnick is also on a couple tracks on the album too. So 11 solid tracks on this bad boy. Go check it out. I'll have links in the notes and all that so you can check it out so you don't have to go searching for it and everything. And yeah, the name of the album is Radio Silence. I've been listening to podcasts for quite a few years. One that's on my radar heavily, and I recommend it whenever someone's like, dude, I listen to podcasts. I'm like, you need to check out Film Sack. If you love movies, these guys are great. They have a show it's the production quality is amazing. They'll watch movies I've never heard of. I won't even watch the movie. I'll just listen to them because it's so funny hearing them talk about it and how they can be distracted. Like, the movie could be so horribly bad, they're off on another path and then come back to the movie. But it's a well-produced show and well worth your time. I tend to listen to them when I'm in the car, going long distances. They'll get me through road trips. Get a lot of snow where I live. I'm like, oh man, I got to go snowblow. It's going to take at least an hour. That's cool because the podcast is an hour plus of just great quality. I can't even, like, you'll get it. Just go check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. Film Sack. You'll thank me later, and then tell me what are some podcasts that you like. I do like them to sound good. I've come across a few that are hard because they just don't sound good, so it's hard to listen to them. So sometimes, catchy music and well produced is great. But I understand some people don't have the equipment to do it. But yeah, hit me up with what you listen to and what you like, and yeah, do it. Well, I guess it's time for me to wrap it up here. Not suck you in too much yet. Just get things started. Dusting things off. All that fun stuff. Thanks again for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave me some feedback. You can email me. whatthepatpodcast@gmail.com. You can check me out online. whatthepatpodcast.blogspot.com. Again, everything will be in the show notes, so you don't have to go remember it and write it down. Who has time for that? Let me make it easy for you. Plan on doing these once a week, so check it out again. Again, thanks. Have a good one. I'm wrapping it up and getting out of here.